welcome back to Football Frenzy. I'm Zoe Alter here with Alex Watts, as always, joined by a special guest today, Rebecca Blum. Rebecca, welcome. We're excited to have you, our first guest on our actual podcast. So,
Thank you. Thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yes, of course.
You're stuck with me for 40 minutes.
Of course, I'm so excited to yell at you. So let's start off with news. We have Rebecca here for when we do predictions, so you'll just have to deal with her for a little while. But I wanted to start off with news. Obviously, I can't not talk about the Lions. I'm sorry. I do it every week. But now there's actually news regarding them. Everson Griffin to the Lions for a conditional sixth rounder.
That was a steal. It was an absolute steal. I think he's a very high value player, and you absolutely stole him with that a conditional sixth round pick, which means they might not even get it. So basically, they traded him away for like a bag of chips, which is
which is just
that's always great.
Yeah,
it's always great.
I'm so excited. I have to say. I mean, I know I can't put hope into the Lions. This is the problem: is that they're so bad, and then they give me hope, and then I have hope, and then my dreams get crushed. This is my normal cycle. But Right now, I'm at the higher point of the ladder. When we come back next week, I'll probably be low when they lose again. So we'll see what happens with that.
I doubt it. They're playing the Colts. The Colts are garbage.
The Lions will lose to them though, and then I'll be sad again because I'll realize they can't beat anyone.
So I have to say, this is the first good news about the Lions in a little while. They got a win. Now they have good news. It's a pretty good okay.
That's true. That's true.
This is the best thing that's happened since David Blau.
Oh, shut up. The one thing that I don't love about this deal is that it's only a 1 year. And I know that's the only way they got him for the sixth round conditional. But my issue with this is that I know you're barely paying him anything, so it doesn't even matter that much, and you're not giving away anything for him. But this season has already been so compromised by Corona, and I'm not surprised that the season just ends up not happening the rest of the way. So I like the move, and I like the aggressiveness, and I like Matt Patricia's win now motive. But I don't know if obviously, you didn't give much away for him, so it's fine. It didn't matter. But if you gave more away for him, I would almost say it wouldn't be worth it, even though he's so good, because the rest of the season's in question to even happen. So the Lions are looking at it like playoffs or bust, but it doesn't even make sense for you to pick up such a good player if you don't even get him again next year.
Yeah, that's true. There's also a bunch of trades, usually in general, where teams want to trade for a player and have him for a year and then maybe, re-sign him or,
The Lions have to
that.
re-sign Galladay. They don't have the money to re-sign Everson Griffin, too. And they need to make other improvements on their defense because the defense sucks. That's
true. They need
He's not
help.
going to fix the whole defense, especially with losing Snacks and everything. You lose a lot of guys that are really important to your team. So I like Everson Griffin a lot, and I know he's going to be a difference maker, especially for what we need right now. And I'm excited for him this season. But I think it's a good right now move. But for the future, I don't know if I love it just because he doesn't have a future here in Detroit, and that worries me because as a Lions fan, I know I'm going to get attached to the way he plays, and then to have that ripped away from me at the end of the season is going to suck. So maybe I'm just telling myself he's bad to, lessen the blow later, but we'll come back to that at the end of the season, and, you can deal with my sorrows then. But the other news piece I want to cover, this is a bigger deal, sorry, Lions, Odell's injury. This is probably one of the biggest things that happened in the past week. I trash talk Odell all the time. I think he's overrated, but I can tell. I never want to see a player go down with an injury, especially an ACL that's going to keep him out for a while. That's a theme we've seen over and over again this season. We basically just see ACL and MCL injuries every single week to big players. So how big of an impact do you think this is going to have on the Browns?
Well, I'd say that it would have a pretty big impact since he's been playing relatively well for the past few weeks. Ever since they, got over their first 3 weeks of being not good, I think they've really started to, overcome it. And
so since Nick Chubb sat down and stepped up, they've been good. Yeah, isn't that what I've been telling you?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a sign, but I just think that it's really unfortunate. But I think maybe Baker Mayfield will start playing better because his rookie year he only had Jarvis Landry and a couple of other players. So I think now that he loses the pressure of having to throw to Odell because he's that good, I think it's just really gonna, elevate his confidence, and he'll be able to take more risky shots.
I'd agree with that, but before I dive into that, Rebecca, I'll throw it to you. What do you think about this Browns?
Okay. So, first off, sorry, Odell. Feel better soon. But anyway, the thing with Mayfield is he has so many targets. He's got like multiple good tight ends. I think there's 3 of them if you count the rookie. He's got a bunch of good wide receivers. I know that you'll hit one of them later. He's got and he has Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb when he returns. So he's got a lot of opportunities to throw it around. And I do agree with Alex that now he doesn't feel as much pressure to just throw it to the one guy. So I look forward to seeing what he ends up doing with the more freedom.
I do too. I mean, I thought I was going to have to fight with you guys on this. I have my stats written down. I was so ready to go at this because I was going to say it's going to benefit them not having Odell. Because if you look at the stats that Baker has on the field with Odell, he has 27 interceptions against only 29 touchdowns with Odell on the field. Whereas without Odell on the field, he has 8 more touchdowns than he does interceptions.
Actually,
so,
really-
that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And it was the same thing. Like, Calvin Johnson did so much for the Lions, but they lost all the time because Matt Stafford felt pressure to throw the ball to him. Whereas when he left, Matt Stafford started passing around the ball, and it got better. And obviously, you miss a guy like that in the field. You're going to miss the size and speed and everything that Odell has. You're going to miss his hands, even though he can't catch the ball half the time.
And his celebrations, too.
Oh, definitely. That's going to be the biggest. The entertainment value, of course. But I think the Browns are going to be okay because I think their rush game has been taking them through everything. Obviously they have the most rush yards on first and second down in the whole league right now, and they're only behind the Ravens for most rush attempts. So shout out to your Ravens. I always got to do it. I see you smirking. It's fine. But for the Browns, I really think this is going to give them a chance to open up their pass game, which is something they really need to work on because they have so many weapons, as you were saying, Rebecca. And if they can just utilize those weapons, I think they could be 3 times as good. So I think that's what it's going to come down to. Hopefully it opens up their offense and propels them. I know, Alex, you don't love the Browns, but I really do like Baker Mayfield for some weird reason, and I have no idea why. So I would kind of like to see him succeed. Also, just because I know it would bother you, so I think that's also a reason. But
wow, okay.
I do want to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, maybe when the division settles down, when Ben Roethlisberger retires, maybe there'll be. It probably will come soon because he's pretty old. But I think once that happens, I think the Browns will really start to get into the hunt of winning the division. Obviously, that won't happen this year, but I think they'll still make the playoffs. I think all 3 of those AFC North teams are going to make the playoffs this year. It's going to be super surprising at what happens because with the new 7-team playoffs, I think that's really a possibility because there's no other division in the AFC as strong as the AFC North.
I mean, it's definitely a good division to watch. Every team in that division is pretty fun. I mean, most. But moving on to recaps, because all I want to get to is predictions. I just want to get to you guys debating each other about the game. But so let's go.
Oh, yeah, everyone take a guess. What fan am I?
Oh, God.
We'll figure out why I'm here.
All right. So for recaps, there are 2 games I want to hit. The first game I want to hit, Seahawks-Cardinals. This is probably the biggest surprise of the week where I love Kyler, and I really wanted this to happen, but I didn't really see it happening. But then it did. And he was able to lead his team to a 37-34 victory over the Seahawks. I was more than thrilled. Rebecca's dad is a Seahawks fan, and nothing makes me happier.
Thrilled.
What?
He's not thrilled.
Nothing makes me happier than when Gary Blum is angry about the Seahawks. It makes my whole month. And my whole month of October is so much better because of this. The first thing that happened when the Seahawks lost to the Cardinals, my dad comes running upstairs because I'm doing homework. He goes, Zoe, the Seahawks lost. And we high-five. We're like, Gary Blum's going to be so angry. Let's go. And
That's so cruel.
That was the first thing that we did when they lost. So, I love your dad, but nothing makes me happier than when the Seahawks lose. So
we'll be hearing about this.
I was overjoyed.
You will be
I think this was Kyler Murray's, it really proved to us that we can really see him as a winning quarterback and see him beat really good teams. Like they just beat an undefeated team, which is really impressive. You don't see that very often. So I think this really shows that, Kyler Murray can really step it up.
Also, a worry for the Cardinals, I know we talked about it a little bit, was with injuries and everything that happened had been their defense for a moment. There was a little bit of worry there. And the fact that they were able to get 3 interceptions off Russell Wilson, who's one of the better quarterbacks in this league. He's like one of the MVP candidates in this league. I think that was
Nice.
really promising for him, just because to prove it to himself that he can do it, because we know I don't know. I like that a lot. I like that the defense was able to do that. And then on the offensive side, Kyler's my favorite person ever. I love him so much. And we've seen him rush again and again. But the fact that he was able to prove himself with 360 yards and 3 touchdowns passing, I thought that was also really special. I just want to see this kid succeed. And every time he does, it puts a smile on my face. So
Yeah, I have to agree with you. And did you see how DK Metcalf was chasing down Buda Baker? That was probably the best part of the game.
Oh yeah.
definitely.
He's such an athletic freak. I was so surprised how he's
4% body fat or something. It's
yeah,
insane.
it's nuts.
No, that was definitely a highlight. But if you're talking about Seahawks wide receivers, you got to hit Tyler Lockett.
Oh yeah.
He had 200 yards, which weirdly is only the second time in Seattle history, and I think that's a Seahawks problem. But he also had 20 targets and 3 touchdowns. So he just absolutely went off as a monster this game. Russell Wilson only threw 3 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett was the receiver of all 3 of them. We know that the 2 of them have chemistry, but this just proved it more than anything, that when they're on the same page, they can do crazy things. But, maybe can't get the win because the Cardinals still won. So, Rebecca, do you have anything to say? I know you've been hearing your dad complain about it, so I know you have something.
I have something I want to flag, and then I have a question for you.
Okay.
What I'd like to flag is the Kenyon Drake injury. It's lucky that the Cardinals ended up with a bye to help him get better, but that could end up playing a role, although Chase Edmonds has proved that he is a very good second option. My question for you, Zoe, is aren't you anti-Tyler Lockett?
I am. So that's why it was so difficult for me to say that, because I like him as a person, but last year in fantasy, him and I just didn't get along. And
Yeah, so I picked him up and then he worked.
I mean, yes, but on your bench. Who won in fantasy this week, Rebecca?
I said not bring this up. That's
Was
not
it me
fair.
or you? It was me. So
I had some
you're not
fantasy
doing
problems
everything
this
right.
week.
You know what? Tyler Lockett, he is a good receiver. I will give him that. As a fantasy receiver, I don't really trust him that much because he can have a crazy week like this, but he can have a week where he does absolutely nothing. And for me, that's the issue because I like consistency. I like a boom factor, but I also really like consistency. I'd rather have a guy that gets 13 a week than a guy that gets 33 one week, but 4 the next. I can't have that on my fantasy team. That's probably my biggest pet peeve ever. So for me, I don't like Tyler Lockett for that reason, but as a player, I love him. I just think as a fantasy player, he's not my favorite.
Fine, fair.
Yes.
I think you're just salty.
Probably, can you tell? Can you
He's
tell?
only got 10 seasons in a row and he's worked out so far.
You know, it's fine. You can have, again, who won? Who won?
Me.
Who won? Oh, I think it was me because Tyler Lockett was on
No,
here.
it's me.
All right, so let's go to the Lions game. So I don't get to do this very often. I don't get to say that they won. So they almost blew the game, which was terrifying for me. But they did end up winning because the Falcons even more found a way to choke by scoring a touchdown.
Oh yes, Todd Gurley blew the game instead.
Honestly,
Hey, he got me fantasy points, so I'm not
No,
complaining.
he blew the game.
I don't care for the Falcons.
I was glad that the Lions won. Thank you very much. But
Yeah,
it's
we're
scary
too.
they almost lost it. That was terrifying. But do you remember a couple years ago when Todd Gurley was still in the Rams, there was a play where it was the end of the game, and I know I needed him to score to win, and he got the breakaway, and I started freaking out. And then he kneeled.
He sat down.
Then he sat down because, they like to slow time and everything, and the Rams ended up winning, but my fantasy team lost that week. So this gave me flashbacks. So I had a little PTSD, but it ended up working out, so it was fine because he did get in the end zone, so it worked out for me. But other than that being a little traumatic, I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was a little upsetting how the Lions only had 1 running touchdown and 1 throwing touchdown. And I love Matt Prater. We were just talking about him with, my water bottle signed by him. But I was just talking about how much I love him. But you can't make him kick all those field goals. He missed one. That's something you don't see from him very often. His long was a 51, which was outside in Georgia. I just wasn't impressed that the Lions weren't able to do more against an awful Falcons team who is 1-6 on the year now, 1-5 before this game. That was my fear. Hopefully that trade that we talked about helps them out. But I was a little worried just with the offensive production with it. But other than that, I think it was totally.
Do we know how many leads the Falcons have blown this year? Because I think it's at 3.
Oh, I think it's
Yeah, I think
wasn't
it's
it
3.
3 or 4 going into
No, it's
They blew
3.
their week 1. They blew the one against the Cowboys. They blew the one against the Lions. Was there another?
That's 3. No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
and they just sucked for the others because
Yeah,
that worked.
they
I think
suck.
so. I mean, we got
They
one
suck.
win right after
They're
they
awful.
fired Dan Quinn.
I mean, also not to mention this is their second straight season, starting 1-6.
That's so sad.
That's funny.
That's so sad.
But let's move on because what Rebecca is here for, if everyone didn't know already, Rebecca is the biggest Steelers fan I know. Probably the only Steelers fan I know other than Gary Braun.
Oh, nice. Oh, it's a good
no bond
mention.
with him, right? Your neighbor, but
Oh, yes, my neighbor.
yes. But so the biggest Steelers fan I know and the biggest Ravens fan I know. We've had millions of discussions and debates about this, but I thought, why not open it up for everyone? Because, I'm usually the one yelling at you guys, but I do really enjoy when you trash each other. So, why not have the content on YouTube? So I'll throw it out to you guys. I'll shut up for the first time in my life and let you two go at it.
Wait, we're not allowed to yell at you instead?
I mean, you can if you want, but, I mean,
Alright.
I thought that was the
I'm
point of
supporting the Ravens, so I don't think you want to yell at me,
All
right?
Say that again?
No.
I'm just going to end up supporting the Ravens, so I don't think
Oh,
you
yeah,
want
okay.
to yell
I
at me.
won't be yelling at you. Never mind.
There you go.
All right. So, where do I start? So basically, this is probably the best rushing offense against the best rushing defense. I think it's going to be. I hate to say it, but I think it's going to be a super even team. Maybe even go to overtime. It's probably the biggest rivalry, maybe in all time. You have to agree with me on that one. That it probably is the biggest rivalry of all
Throughout
time
all sports,
in football.
you wish.
No, in football at least.
No.
No, I don't think so.
In the AFC North. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, Alex, I'd like to ask you something. If you remove Lamar Jackson from the equation, do the Ravens go from the best rushing offense to the 32nd best rushing offense?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think it's all Lamar Jackson.
Oh, no, maybe
but,
the Dolphins beat them out on that?
no, I'd say it's the Bears. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked. So I'd say that I think it's gonna be a pretty even game. I do think that if the Ravens were to prevail, when they prevail, actually, no, when I meant to say
No.
when
No.
they prevail, it'll be the defense. Yannick Ngakoue just traded for a 3rd and a 5th. That's a steal. But anyway, I think Yannick Ngakoue will play really well. Calais Campbell will play really well. I think Marlon Humphrey will really show why he's Defensive Player of the Year. I think Patrick Queen will really come out as the defensive Rookie of the Year. And yeah, I think it's going to be.
Can't even get it out.
Sorry to voice crack. Anyway, I just think it's going to be a super close game, and defenses are going to shine more than the offenses.
I will say, I looked into the spread, and I've decided that it's not right. It's incorrect.
What is the spread?
The Ravens are favored -4. I think it's wrong. The fact that any team is going to win by more than a field goal, I think is absurd.
I'd say it's Ravens -3. That's fair.
I'm
fair.
willing to say 3. I think the 4 is too much. Vegas, you are wrong. Please correct yourself.
I think it's a matter of the Ravens actually being able to make plays against a good rush defense and a meh secondary. The Steelers don't have.
You guys couldn't trash me for the first time in your lives, so you just went to trashing Vegas is so funny to me.
No.
No, you wish that Okuda would be D. Roy.
Oh my god. How does that have to do with Vegas? The Lions are never favored. Continue.
That's true.
Carmen.
All right.
Okuda.
Oh my god. Continue.
All right. Well,
Okay,
is there anything you would like to
Steelers
say?
secondary is not meh. Minka is there for a reason. Joe Hayden is there for a reason.
He's
even though
old.
he's
He's 32. He's 32. He's
32.
old.
Okay, you thought C.J. Mosley was 26, but that's different.
When he was on the Ravens, yes, maybe.
Okay, but that's 2 years ago.
Jimmy Smith as a 32-year-old is better than Joe Hayden as a 32-year-old. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I'm not disagreeing with that statement. I'm just saying that the Steelers secondary is better than meh because what happens is they're a little bit, I would say they're not underrated, but people do cut them a little less. They have a lot of undersized players, much smaller. But some of them, like, they came up really big in the Titans game last week, securing a interception when it was needed most, actually, even though they later gave it up and almost gave me a heart attack. But that's
Because it's against Ryan Tannehill. What do you expect
Fair
against Ryan Tannehill?
I want to know how many touchdowns Ryan Tannehill has thrown for in the year.
He had, like, the whole year, like, 13, 14, 15.
How many has Lamar thrown for?
I don't know, like 8, 10.
I think I've made my point.
Yeah, but Ryan Tannehill is, like, he's he's, you know, the only reason that team is good is because of Derrick Henry. You have to admit that.
I don't think that's true. Ryan Tannehill has dozens of receiving weapons. He has Corey Davis, which I did start out with the weakest. He has Jonnu, and
he gets hurt every other week.
He has A.J. Brown, plus Derrick Henry. But I think we're talking about the wrong team.
I don't know. Yeah, we are. Anyway. No, I just think...
It was so funny that the reason that this happened this week was so the two of you could debate about the Ravens Steelers, and I think we've talked about it for maybe 30 seconds. Maybe. I had to mute myself. I don't know if you guys just said, I just had to mute myself and click off the Zoom so I wouldn't end up yelling at the two of you. And the two of you actually turned back, are like, just not even talking about anything. Is there anything else you guys want to hit before we move on to fantasy?
Yes.
I think that the Ravens will outsack the Steelers. That's my bold prediction.
I don't.
The Ravens will. I mean, when you have guys in there like Matthew Judon and Calais Campbell, who had a 3-sack game 2 weeks ago, Yannick Ngakoue, who was coming off of 5 consecutive sacks.
I don't praise the Steelers very often, but one thing that I do admire from the Steelers is their line.
Alex,
I know
say that literally 5 minutes ago, you were talking about how bad the Ravens' offensive line is and how they almost lost to the Eagles because of it. How are they supposed to outsack the Steelers, who have a good offensive line?
Well, I don't think it was really the pass rush that hurt the Ravens that game. It was the secondary because they were tired.
The offensive line hurt the Ravens that game.
Well, it was the penalties. It wasn't the Ravens had like 11 penalties.
The Steelers have veterans on their line, so they're going to force the Ravens to make more penalties. And if the Ravens had that many penalties against a team that wasn't really penetrating their offensive line, how is it going to be against a team that's made up of guys that are leading the league in like pressures on the quarterback?
Yeah,
but they were also playing two rookies.
And he should have consideration
Who?
for Bud Dupree.
TJ Watt. Oh, I thought you said.
That's not who I said.
Why? How did you hear that?
I was actually watching something earlier about Bud Dupree and TJ Watt and how they're so dangerous because
they are.
They could both, come off of the edge. But I think the thing that the Ravens and the Steelers are best known for are for their safety and cornerback blitzes. They're both really secondary blitzing heavy. They're both very blitz heavy teams, but I just think it's a matter of I think the teams are super even, but I think it's going to be a matter of play calling and penalties because it's going to get very physical, so there might be a lot of penalties called. What?
I do agree. Play calling and penalties will be a factor. I'd also like to point out one more thing in favor of the Steelers, obviously. The Ravens' number 1 receiver is probably Mark Andrews, and after that, it kind of just goes like that. Literally.
What about Marquise Brown?
No, he doesn't count. He's not that
Every
great.
6 weeks, he gets one 90-yard touchdown.
He's fast, and then he runs off the field, and then you can't find him anymore. But the Steelers have. Let me count.
That's not.
Wait 1 second, because the Steelers have running backs that also double as receivers, and the Ravens don't because Lamar can't throw the ball to himself. So
that's what I was going to say. I was going to say the one thing.
Juju and Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool and Ebron, who Zoe will probably roast.
Juju's hurt this week.
You roast Ebron just as much as I do. Thank you very much.
I hate Ebron. No, but Juju's in practice today.
Okay, so?
He's hurt.
Okay, so Lamar
what if he plays hurt again? Like last year?
If he plays hurt, he's still better than Hollywood making an appearance once every 6 weeks.
What? What are you talking about?
And it doesn't matter if he's hurt because
I'll say it again. Hollywood runs off the court, off the field. I said the court. Off the field, through the end zone, and no one can find him. How is Lamar supposed to get the ball down here? Lamar prefers to just run anyway. He doesn't even want to throw to his receiver.
No, he doesn't. He hasn't been running at all this year.
If they can get Juju to suit up, he still counts as a wide receiver 1. So he takes one of you're talking about how good your secondary is, right? he takes away a player from that secondary because they're on him the whole time. So it doesn't matter if he's insane. He still has a guy covering him all the time.
New question.
He frees up.
You literally just said that Lamar has not been running this year. Then how do the Ravens have the number 1 rush offense?
Because they have a 4 running back rotation.
Yeah, how's that working out?
And 3 of them suck.
What do you mean 3 of them suck?
All of them suck. Thank you very much.
Okay, Gus Edwards. He was leading at one point. Week 6, he was leading the league in yards per carry. J.K. Dobbins
because
is one of the most.
Rushed 4 times, so he led them in yards.
No, he hasn't.
Can we please move on?
Oh my God! All right, you know what? Let's close this out with our score predictions. I say 27-24 Ravens.
Yeah, I don't say that. I was actually going to say 27-24 Steelers, but maybe I'll switch it. Let me think.
It depends. Do you say a defensive game or an offensive game? Because I think there's going to be a lot of rushing, but not a lot of passing.
I think it's going to be a defensive game, so I'm tempted to move it down to 24-21 Steelers. But in the beginning, I was contemplating like a 30-27 Steelers. Obviously, I'm not going to say the Ravens are going to win. There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say somewhere in between that field goal separating in the 20s and 30s range.
All right, that's not bad.
I'm not going to commit to an individual score because I'm just not good at making decisions.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for having that wonderful debate.
That was fantastic.
I can leave the Zoom now if we wish.
Oh no, you're stuck here. Sorry, sucks for you.
My purpose has been fulfilled.
Oh yeah. Well, you didn't bash Alex enough, but like that's fine.
I could have done more.
You know what? It's
okay. It's okay.
We'll bring you back a different time.
It's okay.
And then you'll.
You don't need
it was just your introduction. You have to meet everyone. People can't hate you at first.
I would like to point out that
That's
I'm
true.
upset that the Ravens Steelers game is at 1:00 and is not going to be on TV.
It's not.
I'm very upset about that too.
I don't think so. It's not televised, and I don't have Sunday ticket like you do.
This is where it comes in. If you don't have Sunday ticket, that's what I was gonna say. Because if you just don't have the luxury of buying yourself,
can I have your house for the day?
What?
Can I have your house for the day?
Honestly, I'm not gonna be home. Come over. I swear, I'm out all day. You guys know more than anyone.
I'm just gonna have to get it from Red Zone.
It's not bad. Sunday ticket is probably the best investment I've ever had. So I would 100% recommend. Look, literally sponsor me. And like NFL Sunday ticket, literally sponsor me. I swear, do it.
I love my Instagram live streams.
Oh my god, he's streaming. Oh my god.
All right, let's move.
All right,
Yeah.
I want to
say let's move on.
I've had enough of this. I can't listen to you idiots go at it anymore. So I'm going to start with my fantasy prediction. So my guy for this week is Rashard Higgins. I think could be really good this week. He is a Browns receiver who we haven't heard too much about, solely for the reason that everyone else in the Browns gets overshadowed by Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, who hasn't played as we talked about, Odell, and then Landry. And with Odell out, Higgins actually plays a lot, but with Odell out, he's going to get even more shares. He's going to get more targets. So just last week alone, for Baker Mayfield dropped back 28 times in the pocket. All 28 of those times, Higgins was on the field. Landry wasn't even on the field for all 28 of those times. He was only on it for 27.
Really?
Odell, even less, like if you match up the ratios before he got hurt. But everyone else, Higgins was on it for the most amount of time on the dropback. So you know he's going to be on the field. It just depends if he gets the targets. That being said, I also think he can get the targets. After Odell left, he went 6 for 6 for 110 yards. I think he has crazy boom potential. And I know that was against the Bengals, so it's not that big a deal. But I still think that he's a very underrated player who is not waived in a lot of leagues. And I think I personally am not a player who have not like a fantasy person who has Odell on my team. But I think Higgins could be a good person to have on his team because if everyone else is covered, he's going to be the open man. So that's my piece for it. I don't know if you guys have anything else to say about him, but that's my piece.
Not bad. All
No,
right,
I agree with what you said.
Yeah, I agree. Well, so my fantasy player this week is the guy who caught an Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary, Richard Rodgers. So Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert are both hurt this week, and he had a good game last week, and he's low rostered, and he has he's pretty high potential. So I think that definitely he is a good player to pick up since he is the only tight end, and Carson Wentz likes to throw to his tight ends. So he's just a good player to pick up.
Rebecca, on to you.
Oh, yes. I went with Tim Patrick this week. He is a Broncos wide receiver, for those of you who do not know. And I'm making my case for him because Cortland Sutton is obviously out for the season, has been for a little bit. Drew Lock really likes to throw the ball. Melvin Gordon is kind of old and kind of bad. And Philip Lindsay is just always injured. Sorry, Melvin Gordon fans. The rest of the receivers on the Broncos, we really don't know their names, and Tim Patrick is the number one guy right now.
We don't know their names.
We don't.
If you don't know Tim Patrick, you will have no clue who any of these other players are.
Well, you might not even know Tim Patrick. That's why I'm saying him. Because he has the potential to now be the number one guy while Sutton is out for the rest of the season and possibly more, depending on how long it takes for him to recover.
Agree. I think both of the players you guys mentioned are huge ones. They're both, I'm a waiver wire freak, so I spend all my time
Oh,
looking.
yes. Zoe lives on the waiver wires.
If Rebecca, I did not take a huge look at Tim Patrick because he's already on Rebecca's team, but I was looking at Richard Rodgers. I did end up picking him up. I don't know if he'll play because I don't really have a spot for him in my lineup right now, but obviously
You have
I'm not
DJ
gonna play him.
Dallison.
What?
But you have DJ Dallison.
I also have him. Yes, I have multiple players.
So you have to have a spot for him.
Not really. He's a tight end. I'm not going to put him where George Kittle is.
Oh, that's a good point.
The only other place he can go is flex, and flex is held by Rashard Higgins right now. So
Okay, I see. Never mind. You've made your points.
we will see.
Interesting.
So
Alright.
those are the fantasy picks.
Let's
for the
move
week.
on to red zone.
Okay, yes, we'll move on to red zone. So Rebecca, you can just chime in, I guess, for your opinions.
Yeah.
But I just
I
wanted to
won't
say-
count in your competition, but I'll say them for fun.
Yes, of course. I mean, when is it not fun to throw opinions? You know what I'm saying? I always like to just mock other people. That's what I do.
Nice.
So speaking of mocking, I don't know if you guys remember, but last week I went 3 for 3 and got all my predictions right. And Alex said I wouldn't do it again, but guess
That
what I
made me
did?
very
I
mad.
got 3 for 3 again. So if we just take a quick
That's
look at the predictions from last week, Alex really struggled. But
I did struggle, but this is like I think it's like the fourth time we've tied all year.
that's true.
We've
That's
tied
true.
for the fourth time.
Okay, so starting off, the first question last week was, does Le'Veon have over or under 75 yards in his first game as a Chief? His first game was very underwhelming. He had, 6 carries for 30-something yards.
Yeah.
It was not very pretty. We both
We
said
both
under,
got
so
that
we
one.
both got the point for that. That was easy. Passing
Yeah,
out
good
over.
for you.
That was
Okay.
easy, yes. The next one, obviously having to do with the Steelers. I know you were offended by this one originally when Alex said over, but it says, do the Steelers hold Derrick Henry to over or under 100 yards? My case for last week was Derrick Henry's a power back. I know he can also be an elusive back, but he's going to score touchdowns rather than yards. And he did. He did score touchdowns, but he did get under 100 yards. So I got that one. Alex, you said over, offending Rebecca with that one because you went
Yep.
against her precious Steelers defense. So you got that one wrong. And then if we move on to the last one, it was who has more passing yards, Burrow or Mayfield. I was going to say Mayfield, but then
Until Alex said Mayfield.
yes, until I was.
Yeah.
But
But
it
I was
fine.
wrong.
So
I
it
was
was fine.
wrong.
You were wrong, and I was right.
But he
And-
did have more passing touchdowns. And he did have a game-winning drive.
Yes.
So.
But does it count for this? No.
No. God damn it.
So there you go.
Ugh.
So that is my 3 for 3 week. I very much enjoyed. But if we move on to this week, the questions, Rebecca, you can chime in at any point for these. So the first question, does Tua throw? It's his debut this week. You guys know more than over the moon for this
Oh,
one.
yeah. Party in Miami.
Oh, yeah. Does he throw for over or under 200 yards this weekend? It's versus the
Over.
Rams. Mind you,
Actually,
good defense.
Under. I'm going to say under because it's the Rams and they have a really good secondary. And he might have trouble finding his receivers.
I actually am going to agree with that just because I love Tua, but I think he's going to have to adjust to being an NFL quarterback. And if anyone's poised to do it, I definitely do think it's him. But I think you have to remember who he's dealing with. He is on the Dolphins. It's not like he's on a team where he's stepping into fantastic receivers. He's on the Dolphins. He is Devontae Parker. Congratulations. That's all you got.
Preston
So,
Williams.
what?
Preston Williams. But yeah, mostly Parker.
Okay. So, as I was saying, just to emphasize my point with that, Rebecca, thank you.
Oh, no problem.
I
I'll do
think-
it anytime.
If anything, I think he's going to be a really efficient runner, and I think you're going to see some of the strengths that everyone's seen in him, and he's going to come out and prove why he deserves to be an NFL quarterback. But I don't know if it's going to end up in over 200 yards, especially just because the Rams defense can be really strong, and that front line pressures a lot. And so I think he's going to be he's going to have less time than he usually does. So if anything, he's going to use his legs more. So that's why I would say under. But if we go to the next one, Rebecca, your favorite Rojo. You talk about him all the time. I don't know why, but you do. Yes, you do. You
No,
literally
I
do.
don't.
But okay.
I've said his name once, and it was today, trying to decide.
I've heard you say his name multiple times. Thank you. But if we continue,
Jenna?
no, you too. The two of you. Okay. All right. So the question: does Ronald Jones run for under or over 100 yards versus the Giants?
You know what? I'm gonna say under because Leonard Fournette is expected to get a lot more touches this week. That's what the Bruce Arians has said.
Mr.
So
Angerman?
I think yes, but
Leonard
I
Fournette
think
does a lot
under
of touches
because
every week.
no, Ronald Jones has started all season. I think
Yes, I know. But when he was with the Jaguars, he was supposed to get a lot of touches every week.
yeah, but he threw temper tantrums every week. So
And what's different with
what
this?
can I say?
That sounds like a him problem.
He's with a good coach. But anyway, I think he's gonna go under.
I'm
Ronald
going to say
Jones.
over just for the reason that I
Okay.
don't trust this Giants defense at all. The only player holding this Giants defense together is the corner. I'm blanking on his name right now because he's
Bradbury.
a Giant. There you go. Blanking on his name right now because he's a Giant, and that's how irrelevant they are. But he's the only thing holding the whole Giants defense together. So other than that, I think Ronald Jones is going to run all over them. Not even that he's so fantastic. I just think he's going to get the opportunities. He's definitely going to get more touches than Leonard Fournette. He's proved that every week, especially the goal line touches and where it's important, Ronald Jones gets them every time. So that's going to be really important. He's going to run all over the Giants. Excited for that one. I feel bad for some of my friends that are Giants fans, but honestly, I get mocked about the Lions so much that my sympathy is less. So
I will say that I've agreed with Zoe for both of the picks.
Thank you. This is why I'm 3 for 3 2 weeks in a row. And then, so
I
the
don't know
last
if you trust
question.
my opinion.
Oh, thank you. The last question. Who throws more touchdowns, Drew Lock or Justin Herbert?
You know what? You pick first.
Okay, thanks. I actually don't think this one's going to be that close. I think it's Justin Herbert by a long shot.
Oh, yeah.
I love Justin Herbert, and I love Keenan Allen, and I think he works so well with his receivers, and the chemistry there is insane. Plus, didn't we just talk about how bad the Broncos receiving core is? So
Well,
was
yeah,
mentioned.
but Drew, that's because Drew Lock has been hurt, and now he had a bad week last week, but I think he's gonna have a good week this week. I think I'm gonna say Drew Lock.
go for it. I'm saying
Yeah,
Justin
I side
Herbert.
with Zoe again.
I mean,
How this goes.
either Rebecca's siding with me because I'm right, or she's siding with me and I'm going to get all these wrong. But we'll see how it is. Thank you for watching. That's about all the time we have. We will see you guys next week. Unfortunately, no Rebecca, but we'll get her back soon. I enjoyed. Rebecca, thank you for joining us. We'll talk
Maybe
to you
for
next
Thanks for
time.
having me.